Are WNBA cards worth investing in? That's today's topic. All right, hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Powers Sports Memorabilia Show. I am your host, Matt Powers. Thank you again for joining me. Please visit the website, powersportsmemorabilia.com. Also give me a follow over there on Instagram, at Powers Autographs. If you like this video, you like this channel, please feel free to like and subscribe. Definitely always appreciate it. So a few weeks ago, the WNBA cards came out onto the market, and like you, I was kind of shocked to hear that these were coming out. I did not know this was a new product here, but it got me thinking, are WNBA cards something that you should be investing in, buying? Are these things good at all? What's the quality like? And so for that, I have brought on another expert here, Mr. Patrick Ryan. Patrick bought 2 cases of these things, so he's had a little bit of experience with them, and he's got a little bit of investing strategy behind it. So let's go ahead and jump on into the interview with Patrick and find out what he has to say about the WNBA cards. All right, welcome back to another episode. We are joined again by Patrick Ryan. You guys know him for his famous rants on cards, and apparently he's a soup aficionado now. You can see him on Instagram at VP Ryan Collection, of course, on Twitter at P Ryan Texas. Patrick, thanks again for joining me, man.
Hey, thanks for having me on. Looking forward to talking cards and maybe talk a little bit of soup.
So we're talking WNBA cards today. This is kind of an odd topic. I never thought I'd be talking about WNBA cards. Right. So before we get into the whole kind of money and investment and all that kind of stuff there, let's run through the product really quick. What are your initial thoughts on the product as far as centering, condition, quality of cards, design, etc.?
Well, it seems to mirror the NBA Prizm this year very closely in terms of condition. As in there are some centering issues, and also, there's kind of frayed edges where the card's not damaged. It's just that it wasn't cut completely clean. And a lot of times you just run your finger against it, it comes right off. Other times it does have edging issues. So from a condition standpoint, not great, but I mean, it's kind of just what this year's Prizm is in general. In terms of the product mix, again, I generally like to stick to retail products because it's more of a volume play for getting base cards of the rookies. This is completely different because it's such a small set that in the hobby product, you're getting a good mix of color. And so I like that aspect of it, that every box is close to a complete set. And that means that there's a good chance of hitting a nice parallel.
Yeah, you correct me if I'm wrong. It looks like you bought 2 cases, and your goal is, I guess, to sell 1 case, and then you're going to open up 1 case, which, by my calculation, is 1,728 cards of you got to go through.
Yeah. Well, and so what's interesting, so a couple of things is I've been following Sabrina, for a couple of years with her career at Oregon and also her friendship with Kobe Bryant. And so I was immediately, like a lot of people, hey, when she has cards, I want to invest in it. And I hadn't realized that Prizm hadn't been made for the WNBA before. So we've seen a lot of talk around, people's first Prizm cards. So look, this product was going to be a lot of people's first Prizm cards. So there was pre-sales for cases. It was about $1,500 a case, and I bought 2 of them. And then I realized I'd made a pretty good buy once all the key distributors were sold out of it. And so what's nice here is that I'm going to sell one of my cases. So one of the cases is actually en route to Probstein. That's the consignment service I use to sell a lot of my more high-end stuff. So that'll be hitting the auction block next week. I imagine it'll go for $3,000. Maybe it could go for a little bit more now that people are seeing that these hobby boxes really are loaded with color parallels. So what's nice is that this is really just playing with the house's money. So what I like to do with product like this is I'll probably open up 4 total boxes initially. So I've opened up 2, probably open up 2 more over the next couple of days. And then I just store the rest on a shelf. And it's over the next 3 years, that'll literally be how long it takes me to get through the other 8 boxes. Because I like to see how they might appreciate, right? So I don't want to open them all now. Kind of see how the product sort of, kind of matures. That's the strategy with my 2 cases.
So I'm assuming most most guys and most people that collect cards really don't know much of the WNBA players. So besides Sabrina, who are kind of the main WNBA players that they should be looking for if they choose to pick up a box and open up this product?
Well, so what I was surprised by is like I actually knew more of the players than I thought, because keep in mind the NCAA Final Four, the women's Final Four, does get decent media attention, and so they're like Skylar Diggins, Brittany Griner, Candace Parker. There's six players, veterans, who you're like, oh, I forgot about her. Obviously, Sue Bird, Diana Taurasi. These are like Sue Bird and Diana Taurasi are basketball Hall of Famers. I mean, they will be in the Hall of Fame. And then also this year's rookie class is apparently pretty stacked. I actually did watch the draft. It was during the pandemic. It was the virtual setup. And so I remember some of these players being drafted, and look, like it seems like it's a pretty talented group. So what I did, which I usually don't do, is I actually just started, as I was going through the packs, I was building out teams so that I could just stay organized, and learn a little bit about the players. And I think that's kind of one of the fun things about this product is if I'm opening up a box of NBA or NFL or pretty much anything, hockey is a little bit different. So that's like a hockey where I actually need to turn over the cards and read the player stats to really understand where they are. So, to me, that was fun, just learning more about different players. But I think about this product really as family bonding. Nice for something to go through with someone, goddaughters or nieces, and really focusing, getting that segment into the hobby, and show that it's not completely male dominated.
Right. All right. Well, let's get to the question that everybody has kind of got on their mind here is, are WNBA cards something that could potentially go up in value? Is it something that people should be picking up? Are these, short flips? Are these long-term holds? Tell us your thoughts on the back end investment strategy that you're kind of running through in your own head.
Right. So I think there's a couple ways to look at it. Firstly, I do view this as a longer term sort of play, more or less, for a couple of reasons. One, I think the league's going to see a lot of growth. It's very sad to think about, Kobe Bryant's daughter passing in that tragic accident. But a lot of these players, Kobe Bryant grew up with the WNBA being a thing. So, because he's my age or whatnot. So the WNBA came out, 94? So we always knew about it. So it wasn't really foreign to us. And so that means that it was an acceptable product for him to introduce his daughter to. So you have this generation of players that have daughters who, whereas before it might be like, no, you should play soccer, you should play tennis. The WNBA is not really a thing. Well, the WNBA is now a thing. And so I think we're just going to see, players and celebrities' daughters playing in the WNBA. So I think that's some real long-term potential for the league. Another tidbit is, the owner of the Nets bought the Liberty from the Knicks and moved them to Barclays Center. And with the move to Barclays Center plus Sabrina, there have been rumors of some pretty high-profile courtside seat buyers, one being Jay-Z. And so you think about Jay-Z owning courtside seats at the Liberty, he has a daughter, and he probably wants her to be influenced by, talented young women, just the way a lot of men bring their sons to games, is to have them have role models or whatnot. So I think it's going to become a lot less unique, I guess you could say, that it's going to become a lot more common for dads and daughters to enjoy WNBA games together. I think we're going to see that. I think guys like Jay-Z will be leaders in that sort of way. The other thing too is, as cards have grown, just the collecting base has grown. Just the widespread of ages, and so I definitely think we're seeing more women collectors enter the market, and this seems like this would be a nice natural fit. So it's really betting on the league. Now, one concern is, we saw could make me feel a little bit like 2001 golf, when that stuff really hit the market because of Tiger, and there was SP and there was the base cards, and they overproduced it, and then golf cards went away altogether for when was the last set? Like 2007, and now we're just now getting Upper Deck making PGA cards again. So that's of some concern, is that Panini either loses the license and it expires, or like they just don't make it again. But I mean, there've been consistent WNBA products. It just hasn't really been marketed the way this has been marketed. So this could be problematic if it goes away and there's not consistency of WNBA cards being made. And then, I think that the other interesting factor is, the TV viewership of the WNBA oftentimes beats Major League Soccer. And Major League Soccer oftentimes beats Major League Baseball, depending on the market. So, this is not that like tertiary off the side of a sport as we might think, quite frankly.
That's an interesting point. Yeah, I did not know that. And it sounds like the way you're telling me, though, is this is a long-term play for people that maybe have already had their collections kind of established. They have some money that they can sit on these for a while. But if we're talking like the 18 to 21-year-old kid flippers, this is probably not the product for them, correct?
Probably not. But, what I kind of, bite my tongue a little bit, just because of the fact that because the color parallels, there's not a lot of this product, so you're able, and again, I'm sure someone on Blowout forums or one of the other great baseball card forums has done the math, but based on the, they can figure out how many base cards there are, more or less, based on the way cards are falling into packs. I think it's just going to turn out there really wasn't a lot of this made. Now, what we've seen with Prizm and other products is that they stopped making hobby because a lot of those color parallels are obviously numbered. And so they kind of like make hobby and then they just let retail run. And there's just tons and tons of retail that doesn't have the numbered parallels in it. I could maybe see them cranking up the presses on it, but I think they're probably done with it. I think they had one print run and it is what it is. So it might make sense for, if you see it in Target, maybe buy a couple blasters and just sit on it. I don't see a real harm in that. Barring Sabrina being a really big bust, and like I kind of write off this season, she was injured. It was a bubble scenario, unless she's really a big bust. I mean, this product's gonna have a lot of value because again, you have the first Prizms of, there's probably 4 or 5 Hall of Famers, truth be told, in the product.
All right, well, let's move on to another Hall of Fame product that you really like is this soup that you've been talking about on Instagram. Apparently you got 20-some DMs that people agree with you and love this soup here. What is this soup and why is it so good?
Well, so soup's underrated, apparently, because
I agree.
No one ever talks about soup, but then I post soup and like I've never had, actually, it's probably the most active my DMs have ever been. So, firstly, I do a lot as a single man. I do a lot of my grocery shopping in Target because I'll go every once in a while. And what hit retail? Oh, so 2 random products have hit blasters. So the WNBA, I haven't spotted it in retail. I'm assuming it's out because Fanatics on their website, Fanatics was selling blasters. And I picked up some of those that have a Fanatics parallel. But also Topps Chrome WWE is getting really good reviews this year. And there are blasters of that. So I was just making a Target run and I was it's kind of chilly for Houston. It was like 60 degrees. I was like, I haven't had any soup in a while. So I went to the soup aisle and my goal is to not have to use a pot, right? Let's minimize. So I'm minimally focused on like the containers and it's right by the Chunky, which is pretty good. Chunky is pretty good. But this stuff, it's big. It was a bigger jar. So like it was actually going to be like enough for a meal. Very simple. And actually I complained about the sodium. It's actually relatively low sodium for other soups. So look, man, $2, 39 cents or whatever it was per little package. It's called the Slow Kettle by Campbell's. So yeah, I'm not Donovan McNabb. So I don't have an endorsement with the Campbell's brand, but highly recommend it. So if you go to Target, that's the other thing too, is like, I don't want to have to because keep on Target, like you have to park and generally Targets are pretty busy. So like you're parking, you're walking. Thankfully the Target I go to, the card aisle's near the front. I know some stores, they have cards in the front and also a secondary pile of cards in the back. So if like you hoof it all the way to the back to the electronics, you can't walk out of the store empty handed, So here's, get some soup,
Well, it sounds like you're going to need some energy if you got to open up 1,700 cards here at some point here.
Yeah. Well, so actually my birthday is next week, and I splurged a little bit. Is I usually stay away from those high-end products where it's like 3 cards a box.
Oh, yeah.
Right. The ROIs, so like Topps Dynasty,
Terrible.
Tier 1, they look cool, but I mean, there's absolutely no chance of having an ROI. So it's like, look, for my birthday, since I couldn't really do a party due to the pandemic, I was like, I'll have a couple of my best friends over. I was like, it's like eating junk food, right?
Right.
Your hobby collecting cannot do these one card pack products. But interestingly, and again, this kind of a collecting tip is generally when I send stuff to ComC, it's stuff I really don't care about. So I won't say that it's like free money for me, but ComC you can cash out with a credit with blowout. Right. So I didn't feel as guilty about buying these $500 boxes of Dynasty that probably have a $100 card in it at best. Like if that was coming out of like my real budget, I would have felt horrible because I know how bad of a deal it is. But I splurged, so I bought some of that stuff like Topps Tier 1, Topps Dynasty, those boxes where there's 1 to 3 cards in it. But I also bought some older hoops. So I bought a box of 2012 hoops that has the Anthony Davis in it. I've actually never opened that product. So I will probably need some energy next weekend to get through my birthday box opening.
All right. Well, hey, Patrick, thanks again for coming on and talking WNBA cards. I think this is going to be a great topic for some people. I never thought we'd be talking about stuff like this, but I know there's probably people looking for this, so I appreciate you sharing your information with us here. Again, you can follow him on Instagram at VP Collection, and also over there on Twitter at PRyanTexas. Patrick, thanks again for coming on, man.
Thanks, Matt. I appreciate it.
Well, thanks again for watching the interview with Patrick. I hope you guys got a lot of information out of that. Again, make sure to give him a follow over there on Instagram and also Twitter. And also visit my website, powersportsmemorabilia.com. And also give me a follow over there on Instagram at Powers Autographs. And go and pick up some of that soup that Patrick was talking about. Apparently it's really good. See you guys on the next episode.